Hey guys, it looks like a lot of you have made some good progress on kind of planning and getting things set up so that you can have a plan for Maya. I figured I'd make a video on this in case this is a process that some of you are unfamiliar with, which is to kind of generate a very quick storyboard and then make something called an animatic, which is where you take those frames and put them to time. And then using that, you can also generate a list of things that you might need for your animation so that you can be ready to go once you start in Maya. So here you can see I've made a very rough storyboard with just some very simple doodles to run you through the story. It's basically it runs from left to right and then from top to bottom as far as the frames go. So what I'm thinking is that a car will kind of pan on screen and it'll look like it's kind of driving down the road. Then it'll focus on the faces of the passengers. One will be asleep, the other one's kind of alert and happy. The next thing that happens is a little sign goes by that says, like fun driving or fun road or something like that. Cuts to the driver's face. He's like, oh, what's that all about? And a second sign goes by and it's like, it's really fun. And he's like, okay, totally in. So then the car will exit down some little road. And then the next shot is the car kind of going up and down a little bit more interesting terrain instead of just flat. That causes the passenger to kind of blink awake. And then there's a shot where it's kind of approaching a big loop-de-loop. And the passenger is very surprised by this, but then they start in the loop. It cuts back to the passenger's face. He's super scared now. It would finish the loop, and then he kind of comes off and jumps through the air, and then their faces are there. They land. They skid out. He is like super psyched about it. This guy's like quivering. Then the passenger looks over. There's somebody gets thrown out of a car, and then the car drives off, and it's the driver. So that was my scene. So then getting that into something where you can put it to time might be something that you guys have your own process, but here's a quick and easy way that I find to do that using Adobe Animate. So this is a program where you can have here at the top, there's a bunch of frames and you can add in drawings, and basically when you hit enter, it will kind of go down the timeline at whatever frame rate you've set it to. So to get these frames in, I'll just make a new scene and show you how that happens. So when you say File, New, sure, I'll just make it at whatever size is the default. Zoom out a little bit here so you can see what's going on. Oops. Fit in window. Okay. So to get these frames into Animate, I will often have one layer that's the little frames and then one layer that has all my doodles on it, so that I can, in the frame layer, just use the magic wand, which is W, and I can click inside any of this and it will highlight automatically the square. Because this frame or this layer is separate from my doodle layer, it doesn't get interfered with. So when that is active in Photoshop, if you just hit Control C, it's only going to copy what's on that layer. So if I hit Control C right now, it wouldn't really do anything because this is all that's on that layer. So I'd just be copying blank stuff. But the hotkey for copying everything that's currently visible is actually Control Shift C on Windows or Command Shift C on Mac. So if I hit Control Shift C, then it's been copied, and I can go back over to Animate, click the little first frame, and hit Control V. And you can see that it just pastes it right in there because these are two kind of reasonably similar Adobe products. You can kind of copy and paste between them easily without much problems. So you can see here that this is a little bit different size than the size of my stage, which is what this is called, the background. So if I were to make a movie, it would currently render this entire white space. So to change that size, I would want to kind of match it to this pasted frame that I've made. So if I click that, you can see up here that I've got position and size. It's at position 416 whatever, and its width is 449 and its height is 279. So these are the two important numbers. So I can actually copy and paste these as the size of the stage to make it so that the stage matches exactly all my drawings that I'll be copying over. So if I click over here in the kind of the dark space, I've selected the properties of my stage. So what I can do is first select my movie clip by just clicking here, click in there, hit Control C to copy, click on the background, and then click here where it says size, width, and height, and just paste there. So see how it cropped that, and then I'll do that once again for the height. There you go. And then I can just kind of position this right in the middle, and I'm good to go. To add new frames, right now you can see that I only have one frame. I want to add an empty keyframe, and so the hotkey for that is F7, or you can just say insert. Oh no, this is that's not right. So I can actually just right click on the empty frame that I want and say insert blank keyframe. That's the other way you can do it. So now you can see if I go back and forth, there's stuff on this frame and there's stuff not in this frame, indicated by the dark circle versus the hollow circle. So all I end up doing is kind of rinsing and repeating here. So I make sure that on my storyboard, the little boxes are selected. I click inside of it. I hit Control-Shift-C. Then I can click back into my Animate, select my empty frame, and then hit Control-V, and it will pop right in place. Once again, F7 to make a blank keyframe. Click back over here, hit Control-Shift-C, select my frame, hit Control-V, paste it right in place. Cool. So you can see how now these are all kind of in here. So you can imagine if I spent a bunch of time, I would have all of them, all these frames copied over, however many drawings that is. It's like 17 or 20. And then they're all only one frame long. What you can do is start to space them out to get an idea of how long you would want to use for each shot. So if you kind of select multiple frames by selecting one and holding Shift and clicking another, you can then click and drag down the timeline and it will fill this in. And so the terms in Animate are basically this frame is a keyframe and all of these are just frames, and they all will be filled in with whatever is in the keyframe. So this is at 24 frames a second, or what is it at? Let's see. Okay, so it's actually at 30 frames a second. So I'll switch this over to 24 just so it's closer to Maya. So you can see here are my time markers. So if I wanted this shot to hold for 2 seconds, then I would do 48 frames. So I can go right to there. And then let's say that I wanted to hold this for 1 second. Then I could just select my next keyframe and drag it out like that. So you can see basically really quickly you can start to have things animate over time and update so that you can use it for planning. And what you'll end up with is something like the Animatic that I have here in my movies folder. So you can see here, I've kind of spent some time, had it animate in over time, and kind of get a good feeling for how long the entire animation will take. I think this one is looking like it might be around 34 seconds. Maybe I will come in a little under or a little over, depending on how the animation in Maya goes. But basically, this is a really quick and easy way to identify kind of problems and where I'll be spending a lot of my time and animation budget. Well, cool. The other important thing that comes out of doing just this first step, which is drawing the frames and then maybe having a little bit of text describing what's going to happen. So for example, on this first frame, you can see that I've written camera pans across a rolling car with a scrolling background. So my idea is that, the car wouldn't necessarily be moving, but it would look like it's moving because maybe the wheels are spinning, you can't see the ground, and there's some stuff zipping by, and maybe there's a thing in the background. So all of this tells me that I need some kind of background image, maybe clouds or something like that. So what I end up doing oftentimes is just either in like Notepad or anything that just you can capture text. Just writing a list of all the stuff that falls out of this. So you can see I need some kind of scrolling background. I'll need a sleepy face for the next frame. I'll need a road sign that says Fun Road Exit Soon, and so on and so forth. So all of these assets, you can see like maybe if this gets to like 30 or 40 assets, then maybe I'm like my scope of my animation has gotten out of control and I need to dial it back. Right now, I'm pretty comfortable with how many are here and about what I will need. So I think I should be on track for getting it done. But I would highly recommend that everybody do this just so you can identify anything that you don't know how to do right now. So, for example, if you're somebody that hasn't modeled in Maya, you might not know how to make a sign and add a texture to it and do all that stuff. So knocking that problem out first would be a good way to start to approach making your animation. All right. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and please bring any questions or asset questions, especially to class, so that we can help you get what you're hoping to achieve.